find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. Good evening, come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. Oh, we can make a difference if we put in the time. Good evening, come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time.
Hello, welcome in. Happy Thursday evening. Later Thursday evening for some than for others. Welcome to the Lori Vallow Daybell Day 4 recap co-stream with Trial TV Live and my co-host, the Squeegee of Justice.
Hello to you, and hello to chat. What's up, everybody? How are you doing today, Joe? How was today?
Today was exhausting. It was emotionally exhausting more than anything else.
Yeah,
We saw some witnesses that had some pretty evocative testimony.
that's a great word. Yeah, that's a great word. Definitely can't wait to hear what your insight, what you saw. Definitely lots of questions for you from our chat. So I'm looking forward to hearing everything that you have to tell us.
Okay, good deal. I was on my A game today. I'm not going to lie. I was on my A game. I was taking detailed notes. I took very detailed notes. I missed very little. I did miss some stuff,
Okay.
but I missed very little. I was also tweeting on my X channel. Now, at some point in time, my thread got split. I accidentally hit reply to a former comment, and that split my thread. So
wow.
It wasn't all one cohesive thread, but that's kind of a minor issue.
Okay.
But I was also paying attention to juror reactions, like more
Awesome.
than I ever have on any day before. So I have a couple of comments on that. But here we go. We got Just Shamrock, Sherry, Lily, Zarcasm, MG, Capri Law, Butterfly, Darlene, Tracy, Remy, It's Just Me, Therapist You Know, Pammy, hey Pammy, Butterfly, Therapist You Know, always good to see you in here. Kickaroo, hey, welcome into the chat, Kickaroo.
I love the fact that we've got people on, like we have people straddling, right? Pammy's on both streams, Widespread Panic's on both streams. I'm on both streams. That's whatever. That's a no-brainer. Sherry's on both streams. I love it.
Yeah.
That's great support,
MG.
You guys. I love
it is. Yeah. You guys are awesome. Like, we really have an awesome community, and now we have an awesome cohesive community, like through
Agreed.
both.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Today had a different energy from the public standpoint, just for the fact that the gallery was full today for the first time since opening statements. Like,
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I have a question about that. Do you think it was because Colby said that he was going to be there last night?
So I saw that, and Trace and I had actually made plans because of how the population and the public population has been dwindling Like we could postpone our arrival by a half an hour. And then I saw that Colby was going to go, and I said, no, we're going to go our regular time. And the last 2 days, so today was day 4, day 3 and day 2, we arrived at a certain time and we were first in line both days. We arrived the same time today and we were 5th and 6th. So there were people there ahead of us.
All right. Not too bad.
Yeah. But I changed our arrival time because I saw Colby was going to be there. And I know he has a decent following and decent support. But honestly, today, I think a lot of it was just people randomly showing up on a Thursday. Like, I don't know if they can take a Thursday off of work, or if they were able to get here from out of town. They couldn't get here for the beginning of it. It felt more random than necessarily related to Colby, but maybe it was. I mean, maybe it was. Maybe it was a Colby phenomenon.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Because I was wondering if his announcement brought an extra 5-10 people. I'm not expecting 100 people, but a handful. Just to,
Well, it made me change my plans and get up a half an hour earlier. I wanted that extra half hour of sleep, and I didn't get it.
Yeah, here I thought I'd get to bed earlier. I usually, the last Monday and Tuesday, I was going to bed because we were finishing at 11:30, so I was going to bed, probably in bed by like 12, falling asleep by 12:15, right? So we started at a half hour early or an hour earlier yesterday?
It was an hour yesterday. Yeah.
Hour earlier. Yeah. So here I'm like, woo, we get to go to sleep, get to bed an extra hour. And nope, I was in bed by 11:15. I probably fell asleep by 12. Still got up at 5. I was like, damn it. But for some reason I feel really energized today. I don't know what it is. I was dragging ass yesterday. But I feel like the ever-ready bunny. I could go like another 10 hours. I don't know. Maybe in essence, this is like our Friday, because I know we don't have to do a stream tomorrow night.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That is such a relief, because there was a possibility that there would be a hearing on Lori's motion to dismiss based on lack of disclosure or lack of discovery. And that'll actually come up today in one of the expert witnesses for the state. And I have some thoughts on that, and I don't think that she's necessarily wrong in her motion, but the judge already dismissed it without having a hearing on it.
Did he dismiss it in front of you guys? Did you saw it?
Nope. He issued a minute entry, and he said the defendant's motion is woefully lacking in supporting evidence and is hereby dismissed.
Wow, woefully lacking. Ouch.
Yes. Yep.
That's harsh.
She has been woefully lacking in a lot. She gets in a few zingers and a few dings and scores a few points every once in a while, but she's behind like 95-5 right now.
Yeah, it would be the mercy rule if it was in any kind of sport.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. All right, cool. So it's right off the bat, they were talking about scheduling. Where do you want to start?
Scheduling next week. So they're in Judge Kemp's courtroom. So we always have to wait until Judge Kemp's regular calendar gets done around 10 o'clock every day. Then we can enter the courtroom about 10:15. We get started by 10:30. But Judge Kemp's calendar is dark next Monday, Tuesday. So we can start at 10 o'clock. I'm like, dude, Judge Kemp's calendar starts at 8:30 in the morning. Why can't we start? I mean, not that I want to get there and have to wait in line at like 4:30 or 5:30 in the morning, but we could have we could have 2 full days of court instead of 4.5 hours. We could have like 6.5, 7 hours.
Yeah, I was thinking of that, because they're off Friday. So over the course of 5 weeks, that's an entire week. I'm sorry. Yeah. Over the course of 5 weeks, you're only going 4 days. So that extra day, that's a whole week. So instead of it being a 5-week trial, it'd be a 4-week trial. So I was thinking about that actually before we came on stream, like a half hour ago. I'm like, this trial could be only a 4-week trial instead of a 5-week trial. But anyway, yeah. Beach Bomb super sticker. There you go. Awesome. Thank you.
Beach Bomb. Thank you very much, Beach Bomb. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. See, I see the little symbols now on whose comment is coming from whose channel.
Yes.
I'm figuring this out.
Yeah.
Figuring it out.
It's pretty cool. Now, Pammy throws a loop. Same with widespread. Whoever's on both and Equinox, I think, might be on both too. But anyway, yeah.
Let
So,
me see that. I got to go up and I got to find a Pammy.
oh, there's Future.
Oh,
I'm sorry. We lost Future today, and here we have Future back. There was a whole thing that happened with Future, meaning it was we think it might have been yep, there you go. One of our mods accidentally, but deleted, no, timed out poor Future for 86,000 minutes.
oh my
Right? It's just so random. so so we're like, oh, please, if you see Future in another stream, please have her contact us, please. And eventually we were streaming Monica, so she was over there. So anyway, we got it sorted out. And yeah, so that ends up
86,000 minutes.
which ends up, I guess that's 24. It's 24 hours. It's a day. So
Oh, okay. All right.
go figure that out. I thought it was like 3 months. I was going to be like, no, but luckily, I think, yeah, it's only.
I don't have that. I don't have that level of math skills. I mean, I'm decent at math, but I don't have that level of math skills.
I didn't do the math. Aaron told me. I'm only going with what Aaron told me.
Right. Well, you should believe the expert.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 86,000 minutes. Yeah.
So
sorry. Go ahead.
We reverted to our normal arrival time, and we were fifth and sixth in line, me and Trace on the case, and which was fine because actually I prefer fifth or sixth or seventh or eighth to first, because what they're doing now is when you enter the courtroom as the public, if you're first in line, they make you go sit at the end of the row. So you're all the way up against the wall.
Gotcha.
And your view can be limited. And yesterday or the day before, so day 2, my view of the exhibits was extremely limited. Like I couldn't find a good screen where I could see a good detail of the exhibit. So 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, I mean, those are all good seats.
Okay.
So we arrived there and it just felt like there were more people showing up. But here's an interesting story. So I went down to take a picture, the picture that's on Twitter of me, or on X, whatever you want to call it. I still call it Twitter because I'm old school like that.
We do too. That's fine. Yeah.
And after I took that picture, there was a homeless guy walking his dog going past me. And there was a lady that works at the court that was walking with him. They're walking and talking. They must like have run into each other before. And she was a super nice lady. But they were talking Lori Vallow Daybell, and I was like, hey, I need to get in on this conversation. And that homeless guy was super knowledgeable about this case, like super knowledgeable.
Wow.
He's like, no matter what happens, he said, she's going to jail for the rest of her life. But he goes, I hope they get justice for Charles. And I was like, that dude's all right in my book.
Nice. That's cool. See, those are the stories we like to hear about. That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So we get in line, the doors open promptly at 7:30. Like it must be electronically timed, because if you go up there and your phone says 7:29 and 55 seconds and you try the door, it's closed. When it says 7:30 and 01 seconds, you try it again and it's open. So it's like timed to the whatever the universal, thing is that we all sync our phones to, or that our phones automatically sync to for us now. We don't have to worry about that. Imagine a world where you have to try and set your watches and sync your watches.
Yeah.
Anyway, I go through the x-ray machine and my pins fall out of my bag because I had them just like lightly clipped in the side. I get upstairs and I'm like, oh my gosh, my pins are gone. And somebody says, well, you should ask Nate for a pin. So Nate gave me a pin, right?
Awesome. Life goal. Wait, yep. Life goal, keep my mugshot. I know what it says.
Hold on.
You'll get it.
Hold on. I'll get it. There we go. There we go. Gosh darn it. How does that not like, there we go.
Okay, there it is. Now twist there. Okay, now hold still. Life goal, keep my mugshot off. East Idaho News.
And I was like, not that kind of pin, not that kind of pin. So then I got that.
Oh, fantastic. That's awesome.
That's a real pin. That's a real pin.
I love it.
That's what I took my notes with today.
Shout out to Nate. Awesome.
Yeah. He's a good dude. He's a really good dude.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm slightly jealous. I wish I was there meeting him. That's cool.
So should we get into those notes? Should we dive right in?
Let's do it.
Because there is a lot to go over, and
there is.
And you're hours ahead of me.
Yeah.
You're hours in the future, and I'm hours in the past.
I think I may have to let this little guy out again. You want to go
Okay.
out? All right. I can still hear you. So if you want to, I can still hear you.
Okay. Yep. Go ahead. So Lori came in and she was wearing black pants and a black blazer. She had some kind of a gray multi-pattern shirt on. I have no idea how to describe that fashion-wise. I have no idea. I'm totally lost on that fashion. But they do discuss the fact that Judge Kim's courtroom is going to be dark on Monday and Tuesday, so we can start at 10. Why not 9:30? I don't know. They have a sidebar to discuss the schedule. They let the jury in. All rise for the jury. Jury seated. State calls Adam Cox. So Adam Cox is a 56-year-old pro pickleball player and instructor. I didn't even know that existed.
I know about pickleball because we're in Florida and it's the pickleball,
right.
Whatever center of the universe. But I didn't know that he was a pickleball. I had no idea that he was.
I didn't know there was such thing as a pro pickleball player though. Like they get paid money to, like, where does that money come from? Like, is it televised on ESPN, the Ocho now?
Well, check it out. I used to work I still do kind of work with this. It's like the 7th largest private builder in Florida, and they build these homes, these communities, and they have these pros come in and they do tournaments, and people pay money because this is there's thousands of people that live in these communities. They're like retirement homes, if you will, and not all of them, but some of them are. And people will pay. You pay $100 to enter the tournament. You get 100 people entering, and they pay these pros to come in. It's wild.
Well, if you got a 56-year-old that's playing against like 65 to 75-year-olds, I mean,
I think there's ages. I think they're age brackets and stuff. Yeah. Because there's like 55 plus. So yeah, you got 80-year-olds playing against 56. Yeah, you're right. So I think there are brackets.
There you go.
Yeah, I did not have pickleball on my bingo card. That's for sure.
No, didn't have pickleball. A pro pickleball player on my bingo card. He lives in Arizona. He was a radio show host in Wichita, which is interesting because he does co-host a podcast with Rex Cox, who I think is his uncle. Maybe they call Rex Uncle Rex. So I'm not sure whose uncle he is, but he's old. He's definitely old enough to probably be Adam's uncle. His siblings are Stacy, who is now deceased, Alex, Lori, and Summer. Alex's nickname could be Al. Summer's nickname could be Some. And we find out later that Lori's nickname is Lo or Lolo. So they all have nicknames.
I missed that. Yeah, I missed that. Yeah, okay. Lo. Okay.
Stacy was close with Lori. Melanie is Stacy's daughter. So Stacy is deceased. So Melanie is what we end up, some people around the case call her Melanice because she's the one who married Brandon Boudreaux.
Right.
Melanice was Brandon Boudreaux's wife. Lori was also close to Melanie, married 10 years. Did you know she's now married to Chad? She had prior marriages and children by prior marriages. Colby and Tylee were children by prior marriages. And at one point in time, Adam's son did live with Lori too. So that was Zach. Zach is Adam's son. At one point in time, he lived with Lori, according to Adam.
Right.
Charles helped raise Colby and Tylee. So they've been married since, was that 2006? I don't remember the year, but it was
that comes in with Kay. He doesn't remember, but Kay said it was, actually, I think it was March or April. When we get to Kay, she said she knew exactly. Yeah, she knew exactly.
Yeah. You're right.
Quick question. Let's get it. How did the jury react when he said, "I am her brother"? Was there any reaction from them? Did the gallery know Adam? Did you guys know? Did people know who he was? And then
as far as I so there is a good mix today of people who know a lot about the case and people who know very little about the case.
Okay.
So there were people sitting on the back row, and they're sitting there speaking very low level knowledge about the case, which is fine. I mean, people are where they are. But
Sure.
they were like pointing down to the end of the row, and they were saying like, I think I heard those people that they know a lot about the case. And I'm like, what would you like to know? I can help you.
Okay.
My notes are cryptic here. Except we find out that eventually, okay, so the older children, Cole and Colby, are adults. By the time we get to 2019, Cole and Colby are adults. Cole
Yeah.
is Charles' son from a previous marriage. Colby is Lori's from a previous marriage. They're adults. They're out of the house. So it's just Tylee and JJ living with Charles and Lori.
Right.
They had lived in Hawaii and Texas both at one point in time. Throughout this, they changed residences. Arizona was their most frequented place where they lived, but they did also live in Texas at one point and in Hawaii at one point or 2 points. So this is an interesting point right here. Were Alex and Lori close? He says, I don't know if they were close. It was like a normal brother-sister relationship is what he says at first.
Right.
But then he says in the last year and a half, they became oddly close for a while.
Yeah.
That's a pretty telling statement right there.
Agreed. Yeah. Yep.
Then he asked about Alex and Charles's relationship. He said it was like a normal brother-in-law relationship. Adam, so this is the witness, grew up LDS. He's still LDS. He says Alex was excommunicated twice.
Yeah.
Excommunications, taking away his church membership. Adam and Charles texted and talked often.
Before we go on, I want to interrupt. They didn't say why he was excommunicated? Do you know that backstory?
I know the rumors about it. I don't know facts about it. But
can we talk rumors? Are we allowed to talk rumors?
We can talk rumors. So there was a point in time where where Alex was having a relationship with somebody when they were living in Texas, and all of a sudden one day he said, we need to move, and we need to move now. And they picked up and they moved to Arizona. Like, they left stuff behind. They didn't like rent a U-Haul and take 2 days to load it up and then drive to Arizona. They like put whatever they could in the car and they drove. And she was confused. And then later find out that he had a relationship with a 15-year-old.
Oh, okay.
And this gal that's his ex is probably a deep dive that we might want to take sometime.
Wow.
Because she said that he had an addiction.
Okay.
And he had a problem.
Okay. Was this before or after he spent time in jail for tasering and attempting to kill Joe? Do you know?
I don't know, because I don't know the timeline of when Lori was married to Joe. So if we think about it, Colby was before Joe. So Tylee was Joe's. So if she was 16 in 2019, that was 2003. I'm going to say it was after that. I'm going to say it was after he was in jail.
All right, hold on. I can find out in a second.
Oh, wait, Trace is in here. Trace.
So in 2007, Alex attacked Joe with a stun gun. So 2007 that was.
I'm going to guess it's after that.
So he served 90 days. Yes, okay. All right. Okay.
Trace is in here. She's got answers. I know she does.
Trace is on the case.
Yes, she is. Always.
Hey, Trace, I heard you were on the case. Is that true?
I heard she was at court.
Now that's just a vicious rumor going around.
You're right. Good jokes die hard. Great jokes live forever. Like, okay, knock, knock.
Who's there? No, what?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow who?
Moo. That's a great joke. That'll never die.
Okay.
They became oddly close for a while. Normal brother and sister. Okay, Alex. Supposedly, and this is leading and this is hearsay, both in the same thing, but supposedly Charles paid for family phones, and maybe he paid for some type of car insurance for people we don't know, but he traveled a lot. And Lori worked in a salon before they got married, but she didn't really work outside the home after they got married. They had marital issues. And then at one point in time, she told Adam, so this is her brother, she confides in her brother that she is in the process of translating from a mortal to becoming an immortal. What is the process of translating? I would like to know that. But what's funny is we get into some more details about the religious aspect of that after a bit. She also claimed that she had more authority than the priesthood. And he says only men in the Mormon church can hold the priesthood. But she claimed she had more power than that.
Right.
So there are two different priesthoods in the Mormon church. One is for the younger and one is for the older. One has more power. Anyway, Adam's response is to his sister, I don't know if you're crazy, but it's not true.
Yep.
Whatever this craziness is, I don't know if you're the one that's crazy, but whatever this stuff that you're spouting now is craziness. She stopped talking to him at that point. At one point, there was a discussion about dark people. He later became aware of it. So that's interesting to me because that's also kind of hearsay without foundation. You know, Trina K's asking him, did you know about Lori talking about dark people? And he's like, well, I later became aware of it. So that's not firsthand knowledge. That's hearsay. Right. And there's no foundation to it. Where do you just, from out of the blue, where do you come up with talking about dark people? So I listened for a bit at lunch to Defense Diaries and Bob Mata and Ali Mata and their defense attorneys. And they were like, almost every single question that Trina K asks is leading. Yeah. Almost every single question. Yeah. And I'm glad that they said that because I feel like that I have felt like that since I've been sitting in the court. Like I just, if Lori had a good attorney, a good defense attorney, even an adequate defense attorney, there would have been like 25 or 30 or 40 objections by now to all these questions that Trina is asking, the way that she's asking them. She could probably rephrase them differently, but since Lori is representing herself, she can get away with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. There were multiple times today, like you're saying, but I had a couple other times where similar to days 1 and 2, where a good, any level of lawyer would have been able to dissect, disseminate, attack, discredit, on cross. And Lori just doesn't have, like we were saying yesterday, Lori just doesn't have that ability because she's focused on her questions and she doesn't know how to pivot. And it's like that. You have to be able to, respond to what you ask a question. You have to be able, is your witness going to say this or that? And you have to know, you have to lead the witness to tell you what you want to hear. You can't just ask open-ended questions. You have to, because then you're going to get hammered and you want to be doing the hammering. So you have to ask those specific questions and you want to lead the witness to the end. And she doesn't know how to do that. And it's clear. And if she had any kind of adequate counsel, it would be a different trial, I think, right now. It would definitely be a different trial.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. She doesn't know how to land the plane. She can she probes initially, like she gets a foot in the door and she starts down a particular road that we all kind of know where she's going, but she just doesn't get there. She almost never gets there. Yeah.
Joanne Jedi Platypus says she's focused on revenge, and I think I brought that up yesterday. And our chat was saying that yesterday too. Thanks for pulling that up. Yeah, it seemed like she was solely, because today was all about her people, other than the one, well, 2 people. So five witnesses, and 3 of the 5 she knew. Well, she was related to 2 of them, and she knew the other one fairly well. So to me, it seems like, she's just going after, it's like revenge almost. What do you think? Do you get that sense?
No, absolutely. I mean, there have been people that have talked about it, and I've talked about it, that the whole reason she wants to represent herself is so she can say what she wants to say. Yeah. And she's admitted that, like, openly.
Yeah. There was definitely one point that where I don't know if I have it in my notes, or maybe I do, or if we get to it, I'll bring it up. It's like, it was so, like, she just asked that question just because she was able to ask that question. It had nothing to do with anything other than like something to the effect of, well, what did you guys talk about? Like, what were you talking about? Like, were you talking about me? You know, that kind of thing. And no lawyer would ever ask that. Were you talking about my client? You know, they would never ask that. So it was clear that this was her forum to be able to ask these very specific personal questions that nowhere else would she be able to ask those questions. So anyway.
Here's a good question. Does the judge have any tells when he realizes that the pros are getting away with, the prosecution is getting away? I haven't seen any physical tells. He's pretty stone-faced, although like in the beginning of like jury selection, you could tell he would get exasperated and he would just like put his hands up here on his temple like this. And I'm like, oh man, he's already there. But he allowed Lori, he overruled the prosecution's objections today more than I've seen, I think, in any other trial day.
Yeah, he did.
Let the witness answer.
There was also one point where he just again, it was towards the end. I forget who it was, but he just I forget the circumstance, but something should have been, maybe it was Trina just leading on, and there should have been like 10 objections, and he was just sitting back, just letting it happen. I can't remember the exact, maybe as we go through it'll pop up, but there was definitely a point in time where I'm like, wow, that should be objected to. And he was just letting Lori, well, let her dangle in the wind. It's her choice, right?
Right.
Yeah, Mike, I agree. She actually had a few questions and made a few points. Same as yesterday. I think yesterday she was exposing the inadequacy of the law enforcement investigation. Like no DNA testing was done on the bat. You know, she opened, like we were saying, you know, she had some cracks. You know, people were looking inside. You said, you know, that's already there. But I think a good lawyer would have definitely exposed it even more. Like law enforcement, like if Alan Jackson was doing this or Yannetti, forget about it. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
They would be like all over the law enforcement and how kind of shoddy, right? Shoddy might be a harsh word, but it does kind of seem like yesterday we were saying they threw so much resources at this. They had so many detectives there, and then the follow through is just like, you know, nothing.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about the measurements yesterday and the triangulation and all of that. Like you had 10 questions you could have asked to kind of discredit that.
And I had 10 more questions a day for a certain expert.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on.
All right. So he later became aware of it. So the rest of the family just said, hey, she's just kind of delusional right now. All right. We got to star that. I want to answer that right now. Before we go on.
Sure.
I want to answer that. Oh,
Which one?
No, not that one. Not that one. It scrolled up too fast. There we go. Does the jury know about Tylee and JJ? No. No, they have not been advised openly about it. But if you listen to Kay's testimony carefully, she may have referred to them in the past tense. You listen very carefully. And I don't know that the jury was listening carefully. Maybe one or two were. Anyway, that's a good question. They're not supposed to at this point.
Lori's got to be careful because some of her questions were possibly opening that door, you know. So yeah, Baca, that's a door they don't want opened. It's there have been some moments where it could have been, but anyway, yeah. So
all right. So he confronted the family. He talked to the family about it. He expressed his concerns about the family, and they cut him off. They didn't agree. They said we're not going to look at her as somebody who's doing something evil. She's just kind of in a delusional state right now. She'll come out of it. Then there were these emails from what Trina said, somebody pretending to be Charles. And I'm like, how do we know somebody was pretending to be Charles? What is your foundation for that question, lady? Like that just comes out of the blue. She states it as fact that somebody was pretending to be Charles and sending an email to Chad to ask him to come down and write a book about his semi-professional baseball career.
Yeah.
That just,
Now I'm
wow.
afraid on appeals, isn't this going to be brought up on appeals that she had ineffectual counsel? Or do you, when you're pro se or pro per, is like
You cannot. That is
that's
precluded from your appeal. When
just
you're
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep, it's
Yeah.
precluded.
Tough, tough, tough. You know what?
That was such a huge leading question. There's no
Yeah.
foundation to ask about somebody pretending to be Charles asking Chad to come down.
Yeah.
Um, Adam says he seemed a bit desperate. Charles thought she was going overboard. She was off the ball. He thought maybe if she was going to the Mormon temple 5 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I'm starring questions. So I'm doing double duty right now.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
she was going to the temple 5 times a week, which is unusual for Mormons. They don't do that. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's once a month. Sometimes it's once every 6 months. But 5
Oh,
times a week is highly unusual. So
yeah.
if they could talk to the bishop or stake president about removing her temple recommend, maybe she would come back to some sort of normal,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of an odd theory for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's kind of an odd theory for me because what's going on in that temple that's making her act so weird?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why does going to the temple so much a bad thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is she learning about these crazy outside the box, outside normal LDS doctrine? Is she learning about that in the temple? That doesn't make sense to me. That makes no
Mm-hmm.
sense. But anyway, that's what they talked about. They talked about an intervention. They planned an intervention. They planned tape recording some of her, or audio recording some of her things that she was saying and presenting them. Because if they just confronted her, she's going to deny it, right? She's going to act all normal. Like
Mm-hmm.
when she went into the police department for that mental evaluation, she totally snowed that guy that was evaluating her. He
Mm-hmm.
says, "I don't see you as a threat." Oh, really? Every
Yeah.
single person in that house is dead now, dude. How do you feel about that? She's
Mm.
not a threat.
Yeah. Yep. That didn't age well.
No. They didn't have a specific plan for an intervention. They just knew that they needed to get together and join up and have a combined effort against her in an intervention with multiple people, Adam and Charles being the key figures in that intervention.
Mm-hmm.
And then on July 10th, so this is the day before the murder, Charles flew Adam into Phoenix. And he was supposed to stay with Alex. When he landed, so he texted Alex when he was departing wherever he was. Don't remember what that was, but when he landed, he texted Alex, no response. He called Alex, no response. So he ended
Mm-hmm.
up having to call his parents, who came and picked him up. They went to lunch. They went back to the parents' house, and he didn't see Charles that day, and he didn't see Lori that day. They just kind of hung out at the parents' house. At that time, his son was actually living with Adam's parents, his son Zach.
Mm-hmm.
Which is another interesting family dynamic. There are a lot of children living with, like, not their parents in these dynamics.
Yep. I'm glad you brought that up because that's the second time we've heard that like a nephew or niece is living with an uncle or aunt or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then on the 11th, this was the day the deed was done. He knew that Charles was going to go pick up JJ. He knew that Charles and JJ were close. He got a text from Charles that said, "Alex is here. Al is here."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, quote unquote, "I thought something was off."
Mm-hmm.
And then, are we on direct? Are we on?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're on direct. But
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that I looked over at Lori's defense table, and she was sharing something with her co-counsel right at that point in time.
Okay.
And I don't know what it was. I just noted that she shared something with her co-counsel. So she did interact with her co-counsel, more today than she ever has. And in fact, at one point in time, the male co-counsel, and I forget his name, he was actually seated to her left, and they were interacting quite a bit.
Okay.
So she got a little smarter, and she's like, hey, I need these people closer to me because these things are like this, the walls are starting to tighten in, you know, the cage is tightening up.
Was that her investigator?
No, that's the male advisory council, the one that usually sits back next to Pam Hicks.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then Trina presents the text messages as quote unquote present sense impression, and legally, I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't have.
But there's a specific. I guarantee there's a specific narrow way that these are being brought in. And when I was listening to the Defense Diaries review or coverage of this, they said that the way that Trina used these was definitely not present sense impression. So that's a legal thing. I don't know what it means, but Trina once again was utilizing something to her advantage because Lori doesn't know any better, and she doesn't have anybody with her to know better.
These are the text messages between Adam and Charles.
Charles, yes.
Okay. So Lori objected because she said that's the report, not the full extraction.
Correct.
Okay.
And the judge said overruled without pretty much explaining why.
He says it goes more to the weight, but then he says, "Give me a second here," and he took a pause, and then he admitted it. So that's what Bob and Allie were talking about. That specifically.
Well, they were talking about after this, they recognized that the way that Trina was using them was not in the way of present sense impression.
Gotcha.
She was manipulating this evidence as more than present sense impression, whatever that means.
Here's sarcasm. If you can bring up sarcasm's present sense impression. Out of court statement that describes an event or condition as it's happening or right after it occurs.
Okay, that seems to be the way that this is going on. Except we see in the end, we see text messages and reads that are beyond as it is happening. We see that at 7:37 in the morning, Charles stops reading and reacting to the messages from Adam, and we see more messages after that are read or responded to in the moment, in the current event or condition. So she expands beyond the quote unquote present sense impression, in my opinion. And I'm not a lawyer, and I didn't sleep in a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Nice.
So they talked about in these text messages, they were going to go to the stake president. That's stake, STAKE. So the way that Mormon church organization works is they're regionally set up. So if you live, literally, it's like a school boundary. It's a geographic boundary. If you live within these boundaries, you go to this ward. A ward is like a congregation, a local congregation. And then they'll put a group of contiguous congregations together. 4 or 5 wards will make up a stake. So that stake, so each ward will have its own leadership, the bishopric, and then each stake will have its leadership, the stake president, vice president, and so on. Anyway, there was some discussion, I think, in some of the chats. They were trying to figure out what the Mormon linguistics were. They have their own language.
Yep. Gotcha.
And this next one was a lightning bolt for me. When he tried to serve her divorce papers, she disappeared. She denied that Charles was in the process of filing for divorce when Nancy Joe was on the stand. Do you remember that? That was part of that spiciness.
Absolutely. Yep.
And Adam here is testifying that Charles actually was trying to serve her with divorce papers, but she disappeared for like 58 days and then shows up, and then another couple of weeks. So 72 days total, she's gone.
Yep.
Why didn't he serve her divorce papers when she showed back up?
Well, I think we heard from Kay about that, right? That they kind of reconciled.
Yeah, right.
So, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes, we are, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
We can go back and forth.
We can jump around.
We've all seen
Mhm.
it. There's no spoilers right now.
That's true.
Adam said that Charles told him that she was under some spell. These are the highlights. I fear the Lori I knew is gone forever. And this is when we hear, so in one of the text messages, she's called Lo, and Adam says, well, Lo is Lori or Lolo. Lo or Lolo is her nickname. So Al is here. They're planning something, absolutely. And he stops reading and responding to text messages at 7:37 a.m., which is when we know he showed up at that house. He showed up at 7:35-ish.
Right.
Texted Adam. Nobody told Adam that Charles had been shot. And he didn't tell his mom or his dad or Summer or Alex about their planned intervention, because all of her immediate family members would have tried to stop an intervention because they didn't believe there was anything wrong with her that was like permanent. So he goes down to visit his friend in Tucson. He's telling his friend Eric in Tucson that he is just really weirded out by Charles not texting him at all.
Mm-hmm.
So his friend Eric gets on the computer and he Googles Charles Vallow, and he's like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
he's been shot to death by Alex.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the same like news article that Kay and Larry found.
Probably. Yeah. I don't know
He
how
knew.
big it was. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no.
I was just going to say, I don't know how big it was, like how many news stations were covering it, if it was just one or two, or if everybody was covering it. You know, it may not have been that big of a deal back then, you know, because I hate to say it, but it's just a shooting, you know?
Right. And that's what Chandler PD said. That's why they said, well, we didn't really investigate it that thoroughly.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yep.
No, you didn't.
Yep.
He said he knew Alex had guns.
I'm sorry. Hold on a sec. Capri Law says it was huge here. Sorry to interrupt you, but Capri Law said it was huge here. Okay. So Capri, you remember it? Do you remember that? Sorry. Thanks, Joe, for bringing that up.
No, that's a excellent, relevant comment, because I wasn't here then, so I don't know. So it was huge here, but nobody knew about it besides Lori.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for real. Well, Lori and Alex, obviously.
Right.
Oh, look at that. Boom.
Yes.
Lauren from Hidden True Crime complimented me on my tie today, too.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Like, all right.
And Capri says it traveled like wildfire through the LDS community.
Interesting. Mm. So I wonder always what the LDS community thinks about the fringe, quote unquote, cultish groups, like what Lori and Chad were doing with the Prepare the People and the preparing for emergency preparedness side of that is like, that's not uncommon, right? A lot of people do that, but
yeah.
What about the spiritual side of it? Because we saw in testimony that preparing the people was not just physical emergency preparedness for a disaster, but it was also spiritual preparedness for the second coming. Right. So I wonder what the Mormon Church thinks about that.
Right.
All right. So he didn't tell anybody about the intervention. And then she asked him to tell about the Nephi story. And the Nephi story, you guys all heard it. So I don't need to recap it in in its entirety, but it is a story that I learned about when I was in the LDS church. And it's basically about justified killing. Like he didn't say it in his testimony, but when Nephi went back and King Laban was drunk at his feet and the Spirit of the Lord told him to take his life, he cut off his head.
Oh, wow.
Like took his sword and cut off his head.
Yeah, we did not hear that.
Yeah, nope, he didn't testify to that, but probably because he didn't have a 45 semi-automatic.
Yeah.
That would have been so much easier. Did you know if he was aware of something? Objection, hearsay. So he was able to answer yes or no to some question that's irrelevant now. So when he found out, he called Kay. Kay said she had just learned of it. And then he called his mom and he said, what's going on? And his mom said, you tell me what's going on.
Right.
And he was like, that was just such an odd response. Like he was taken aback by that response. Yeah. So he goes to his mom. He flies out to his mom or drives out, probably flies out to where his mom is. I think. I can't remember. So no, they had to be in the Phoenix area at that point in time.
Yeah. I have, he drove to his mom's house.
Yeah. He drove to his mom's house, confronted his mom. It didn't go well. He didn't call it an argument, but Miss K did call it an argument, so I would have objected to that because that's drawing a conclusion that wasn't testified to by the witness. I don't know how you summarize that objection. Anyway, so Summer wasn't home, so they went to Summer's house, and then he went back to Wichita, and he took his son Zach with him to Wichita because he was on the outs with his family. So Zach was living with his mom and dad. He had a dust up with his mom and dad over this. So he took Zach back with him to Wichita. And then we start the cross-examination. If you see something in chat that pops out, let me know because I'm like looking back and forth.
Sure. Sure.
When was the last time you saw me? It's always about her. It's always about her.
Yep.
I don't recall. And he was very, very dry on his responses.
Yep.
Did you see me at Colby's wedding? And he says, no, I wasn't there. I wasn't at Colby's wedding. And Colby turned to Kay, who was sitting next to him, and he said something that I couldn't understand. But Colby was like, it looked to me like Colby was trying to remember, was Adam really there or wasn't he there? But I was sitting like one seat back and one seat to the right of Colby, so I had a good view of him. Nice. And I was seated right behind Kay.
Okay.
The last time was 2018. Do you remember the green chicken chili enchiladas that I made for all of the family get-togethers? Green chicken chili enchiladas. Hey, DSN, thank you.
Thank you, DSN. Appreciate that. So vague and ambiguous, I believe, is LDS. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I saw that way at the beginning. So vague and ambiguous. Are you currently LDS? And apparently Capri Law said she was homeschooled with some LDS. I was homeschooled with many LDS and went to charter schools with them as well and remained very tight in that community. So that's how Capri Law knows that it spread through the community like wildfire. And she also said news picked up on it too. So, so with the cross yesterday with Nancy Joe, that kind of got spicy. We were figuring it would get spicy with Adam, right? Brother, sister, they're on the outs.
Right.
To me, Adam was just kind of like, he was like, I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know. He was kind of like, whatever. Yeah. Right. We picked that up. Did you get that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well? Yeah. He did kind of warm up a little bit over time and kind of did answer some specific questions over time. When was the last text? January 2018. Who concluded that conversation? Like,
Mhm.
what does that matter? Objection, relevance? I mean,
Yeah.
what does it matter who concluded that conversation? Like, okay, so if somebody texts you and you don't text back, is the person that texted you the one that concluded the conversation, or is you not texting back the one that concluded the conversation? I mean, can you even evaluate that objectively? This
She
is
yeah, she seemed to be going with, how long is it, when's the last time we've seen each other? Was it a year, 2, 3, 4, 5? I mean, she just hammered him right out of the gates, and then the whole Colby thing, and then, oh, so 10 times a year that we get together for family, you've never seen me then. So I think they finally agreed that it's been like 8 years. They haven't spoken in 8 years. I think they finally because they were kind of like they were like doing one of these, fighting with each other, if you will. Lori more than him, but I think they
well, he
finally,
said she said 8, and he goes, well, 78, because he can do the
yeah,
math. 2018 to 2025 is 7 years, not 8.
yeah, yeah. So I think they finally settled on, 70. Yeah, last time
Right.
communicated. Yep. So
Yep. So before they stopped communications, though, in January of 2028, how often did they communicate? 2 to 3 times a month. Adam lived in a lot of places. They went through all the cities.
yeah, yeah.
Like, what?
Who,
Why?
who cares? Yeah.
Wichita, Houston, Austin. Like, I mean, they went through like 20 cities, and I'm like,
I
what's the relevance of this?
I guess, well, because then she said we're not physically close. We weren't
Oh
we weren't
yes,
physically
right,
close in the last 20
right,
years.
right.
So I guess
Yes,
she was laying foundation that they weren't physically
right.
close to each other, I guess.
Yes, good. Thank you. You brought me
Yeah.
back on track. So
Yeah.
their communications were limited to family get-togethers and a few calls and texts here and there, and they were not physically in proximity to each other. So, um, her famous question now for all of the people in the family:
Yep.
did you see with your own eyes? Did you hear with your own ears? Did you personally witness me conspiring to murder my husband, Charles Vallow?
Yep.
So this is her question now. She's got that written down. She's going to ask that of all the family members.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he said no,
Yep.
because he didn't.
Yep. To me, that was like her mic drop moment because she asked that, as we found out, to everybody, right? She asked that to Adam, Serena, and Kay, and every time
Yep.
she asked it, she's like, nope, nope, turn, and she like turned like to me. I just felt in her little mind, she's like, oh, there's my mic drop moment. I gotcha,
Right?
right? It was like
Totally.
she's so like ninth grade. Like I just feel like she's just like just we all knew people like that in high school or whatever.
Yeah.
She's one of those.
Right. And then we have redirect, and I scribbled something that I can't read for the life of me.
There was a really good thing.
Have you had contact with your sister since Charles was killed? Oh, have you had contact with Lori since Charles was killed? Okay, that makes sense. Did the relationship um, change after you told her, I don't know if you're crazy, but what you said isn't true? And of course, the relationship changed after that. That was like the break moment. Like,
Right,
Lori couldn't handle that.
right.
Did it stand out to you that Alex brought a loaded gun into a house where JJ lived?
Yeah.
Objection, out of scope. And Lori really objected to this, and she's like, that's not, I did not bring that up on cross. And the
Mm-hmm.
judge says, overruled, you may
Mm-hmm.
proceed.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, Adam says, there's no doubt in my mind that they killed him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty big statement right there. There's no
Yeah.
doubt in my mind that they he didn't say Alex, he said they killed him.
Yep. Yeah. The only thing I want to add to that objection out of scope, judge actually, I have written down, hey, like all caps, hey, I didn't ask for argument. So we actually got the judge. He's like, hey, and he didn't shout it, but he definitely was, because he's so mellow.
Right,
And he's
right.
so quiet.
Because
Yeah.
after Trina objected to the objection, then
Mhm.
Lori just dropped right in with a rebuttal, and that's not how it works. You don't just
No.
immediately turn around. You don't go back and forth between attorneys.
Right.
You have to go through the judge. You have to
Yep.
take your turns.
Yep.
She
Yep.
wasn't taking her turn.
Yep.
So Adam said that there's no doubt in my mind that they killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the judge says, that's the end. And judge says, you know what? I believe the defendant was right.
Mm-hmm.
That last line of questioning was out of scope. And he doesn't say it should be stricken from the record. He says, if the defense wants to recross this witness, she can.
Yep.
And I'm like, is that really a fair response to that? I mean, even if it's stricken from the record, the jury's already heard it.
Yeah.
Even if she recrosses him, the jury's already heard it. The jury has already heard improper information.
Right.
That was objected to on the record. So there's a tiny little nugget of appellate information. She's not going to get her case thrown out if she did, or her guilty verdict thrown out because of that.
Yeah. But score one for Lori. I hate to say that, but score one for her because she caught it. That was. She didn't bring that up in cross in cross. She didn't bring that up, so they had no right in bringing that up in redirect. Yeah.
And she was quick on it too. Like it was immediate.
Yeah.
It was immediate.
I don't think her counsel told her that. I think that was all on her own. So that's what I'm saying. She knows just enough to be dangerous. She's one of those types where she knows just enough to be dangerous, and she thinks she knows more than she actually does. So she should stay in this lane, but she's like all over the freaking highway.
Without her blinkers on, she doesn't turn on her turn signals.
Exactly. Yeah. So, no jury questions, right? There were no jury questions.
Nope.
I do have we took a poll, 89 votes. Did Lori win that matchup between her and Adam? So 92% of you said no, she did not win. 5% said not sure, and 2% said she did win that matchup. What do you think about that? Do you think she won?
It's a mixed bag because she technically won the judge's ruling in her favor, but it's too late. The bell was rung. I mean, the cat's out of the bag. Like the jury already heard that testimony, so her victory is a hollow one. I'll just say that. Yeah.
But I think without him saying that, they could have, if you were astute enough, you could be like, well, wait a minute. JJ's on the spectrum. He's being taken to school. They know that we don't know his age yet, right? Have they actually said his age?
Not until we get to K.
Yeah. So the jury doesn't quite know. They know he's maybe 10-ish, 9, 10, something like that. So they know he's on the spectrum. What on earth is Uncle there doing with a loaded gun, magazines? What, right? I mean, if you could put two and two together, you'd be like, well, that's not being the best mom. You're not going to win mom of the year award with that.
Here's a minor technicality though. Trina K said bringing a loaded gun into the house. How do we know it was a loaded gun when he brought it in the house? He could have loaded it literally seconds before he shot Charles.
Yep.
He could have had in that bag. He could have had the firearm stored separately from the ammo. He could have had the gun secured. I doubt if he did, but he could have. I mean, she said loaded gun, and I would have objected on foundation. How do you know it was a loaded gun? Absolutely.
All right. Two things. First, Mel Stiller's saying he's 7, but right, we don't know that yet. And then Capri Law, just so you know, the 2% were mess ups by Rachel and I. What's going on with our mods today? They're screwing up my polls. They're timing out people for 86,000 minutes. Our mods are taking everything. They're taking the chat sideways. Oh, you guys are great. I love you guys.
Okay, wait. Okay, I have to do the math. You got to hold on while I do the math. 86,000?
Yeah, it's 86,000 seconds.
Okay, so 86,000 seconds divided by 60 is how many minutes? That's 1,433 minutes.
Right.
Divided by 60 is 23.888888 hours. So 24 hours, yeah.
So essentially 24, yeah.
But just less than 24 hours.
Don't ever question Aaron. I learned that a long time ago.
Trust but verify.
Oh, it's Lori's dark zombie powers. Squeegee, Pammy saying it's Lori's dark zombie power. That's right. Lori's like taking over the chat, and our mods are our mods are freaking out. uh, oy. This trial has a little bit of everything. You know, it really does. It's every
It
trial has
does.
its own unique thing, right? It's like its own unique personality, and this one is kind of taking shape. So
It is, and I gotta say, and I know I'm going to jinx it right here, so I shouldn't say it, but I kind
okay.
of feel like I'm finding the groove.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, that's it.
get it.
Oh no.
Right.
Do you have
Dang it.
extra? Do you have extra tires? You got your oil changed?
Right. I've got AAA.
Triple A. There you go. Okay.
All right. So the next witness is Serena Sharp, and that's spelled Sarena. Serena Sharp.
Yep.
She moved to Arizona in, I don't know. I didn't catch when she moved to Arizona.
2019.
Gotcha. Which is when everything went down. Imagine that.
Yep.
She's LDS. She went to a couple of Preparing the People conferences. There was one that was, so she says the conferences are for emergency preparedness and spiritually preparing for the second coming, which is what I referenced earlier.
Yeah.
There was one in November of 2018, which had a lot more people to it, but the two people that she knew were Melanie Gibb and Jason Mao. And on my channel, we have done deep dives into Melanie Gibb and Jason Mao. Jason Mao was a Phoenix police officer, and he's also a fiction author that created fictional characters from Book of Mormon characters, like Captain Moroni is one of his famous characters. And he preaches what he calls a warrior ethos, but he preaches it to like 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds because adults won't have him come in and do a conference, for an adult conference. So he goes to Sunday school classes. Right now, he's a seminary teacher. So seminary teachers teach high school kids. So he's teaching this, whatever his brand of Mormonism is, and warrior ethos to LDS high school students right now.
Gotcha.
But he is involved in this. He is.
Can I back up just for a second? So she attended this conference in November 2018. So she knew only two people. One was Melanie, and the other was
Jason Mao.
Jason Mao.
M-O.
You know what I have down? I have mom.
Oh.
So it's I missed the Jason part. Let me change that in my notes. So Jason, how's that spelled? Mao?
M-O-W, like Mo, but Mao.
Oh,
it's
okay.
pronounced Mao. Yeah.
Thank you for correcting my notes. Okay, cool.
It wasn't mom. Melanie Gibb picked her up from the airport, and her expectation was they were going to Melanie's house to stay for the duration of this conference. Melanie says while they're driving away, well, I have family at the house. We can't stay there. So we're going to go to my friend's house. And who's her friend? It's Lori. So they all go to Lori's house where several people are staying. So this was.
And who
November
was
of
one of
2018.
those? Yeah, who was one of those people? Did you get that?
No.
Oh, so a lot of people were there. Lori's family was. Let's see, they stayed at Lori's because there were a lot of people at her place, but Lori didn't have anybody at her place because family wasn't there. Chad was there. Dun dun.
Oh yeah. Well, I knew Chad was in town. I didn't know he was staying at Lori's.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
I don't know if he was staying there, but he was. She said that he was there. So I don't know.
Well, yes, he would. What I have in my notes is Chad was there in Arizona for the Preparing the People conference that she was in there to attend to.
Okay, I took it as that she met. Well, she talked to Chad then and after, but I took it as Chad was staying there. Chad was staying at the
at Lori's house.
At Lori's house, yeah. Maybe that's just me jumping to conclusions, but that's what I wrote down. All right.
Well, make a note that we'll go back and we'll listen to that audio for that part again.
Yeah. All right.
All right. But she also said that she talked to Chad about that she was looking for a house. She was quote unquote house hunting. And one of the places she was looking was Rexburg. So
Yep.
she actually did fly up to Rexburg and meet Chad in Rexburg to talk about her house hunting.
Right.
But then we get to that March of 2019 weekend, the girls' weekend at Zalima's house.
Mm-hmm.
All the girls that were there were LDS. I don't have notes on which girls were there at that all-girls weekend. Maybe we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
No?
I have it if you want it now, or if you want it later. That's cool.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
So March 2019. That's when we're talking about the girls' weekend. At
Correct.
Zulima's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was Lori, Melanie, Christina, Nicole, and Zulima, and of course Serena.
Okay.
But we heard that from Christina earlier. We heard that
Right.
already.
Yeah. I had it written down in her notes, but I didn't write it down here again. Maybe I'm like, I'm not being duplicative today.
Right.
I'll be evocative, but not duplicative. So she's asked what non-LDS teachings. So what teachings did Lori talk to you about that the way that she phrased it was go against the Mormon Church?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of have a little problem with that phrasing, but I won't dwell on that now. That she didn't need to repent? Yes. So these are leading questions.
Yeah.
Trina is putting words in her mouth. 100%. These non-LDS teachings that Lori talked about were she didn't need to repent, correct. But Lori had Bible verses where she pulled out that said we don't need to repent.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some type of repentance stuff in the Bible maybe that Lori was leaning on, and we'll learn about some other Bible verses and Book of Mormon verses when it comes to my mind just was like, oh, we'll get there anyway. Translated beings, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Pammy, you got to get it right. It's proper is as proper does. Proper. Not proper, proper.
Mm-hmm.
We're in Arizona. Pammy says pro se.
Pro se is as pro se does, yeah. So Arizona, I heard that. I heard the pro per thing, yeah.
Yeah, and it means the exact same thing. So I don't know why Arizona has to try and be different. Maybe because of all the Mormons here. She did a Chandler police interview. And then she asked her about, did Lori talk to you about dark and light levels in people? Did she talk to you about being translated? She said, no, I don't remember her using that phrase. So that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Did she talk to you about casting? Yes, but just in a general sense, casting out evil from the world, like making the world a better place, not like from an individual.
Right.
Have you ever prayed to get rid of evil in the name of Jesus Christ? And when they said that, I expected Lori to like get struck by lightning or explode. I was like looking over there really intently. I'm like, what's going on over there? You okay, Lori? Anyway, there was a girls' weekend trip, and I don't remember which one this date was. Was it the second girls' weekend trip? Or was it the first one in March? I don't know which one this is referring to. But they did a casting out for Charles. Lori said Charles was possessed by Ned. And I have in my notes, when they start talking about possession, one of the jurors is looking over there and he's raising his eyebrows and he's like, what are we talking about now? What is this?
Right.
And the other jurors, I noticed throughout this discussion, were leaning more forward in their seats and were paying more attention. They're like, we're having an interesting discussion here about possessions and zombies and castings and stuff. It did get their attention. It got the jury's attention.
Okay.
Lori said Charles is no longer Charles. A zombie is somebody that is possessed by an evil spirit. So it's not like the Hollywood zombie that's like the living undead type of thing.
Right.
They did have a group casting at that girls' weekend. They stood in a circle, or they sat in a circle, and one by one they all prayed to cast out the evil spirit Ned from Charles's body. It lasted about 2 days, and then we go to lunch and continued after lunch. Same testimony. Serena said she saw Lori twice after moving to Arizona. There was a girls' lunch where Lori basically said, hi, like, hi, neighbor, hi.
Right.
Then there was a social invitation for her to join a social event at Lori's house. So this is August, late July or early August of 2019. So this is after Charles has been killed. Serena gets invited to Lori's house for like a social event. There were multiple women there. She doesn't remember who all was there. What was Lori's demeanor? Stoic. I didn't see any mourning or crying, which that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already a few weeks past the death of her husband. But she didn't know that Lori had married Chad. So now we get to cross. She starts going down, asking her about, did you take an oath? And did you swear an oath to God to tell the truth? And does that mean that this court recognizes that you're accountable to God for your testimony? Objection. Sustained. And then she says, does that mean that you feel like your testimony is accountable to God? She's allowed to ask that. She's allowed to answer yes. Then she asked her how many times did they meet one-on-one, maybe 3 times, how many phone calls, something over 10, something more than 10, texted multiple times. So she's just establishing her and Serena's relationship. Did you hear the word zombies come out of my mouth?
Yeah, she was pretty adamant about this.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
She says, I don't recall. Is it possible that someone else said the word zombies? And she said, it's possible, but I don't think so. She's fairly sure that the word zombies came out of Lori's mouth. And then objection, asked and answered, because she did ask it multiple times. Did the word zombies come out of her mouth?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I verbatim. I mentioned zombies. What did I say exactly verbatim? Like she kind of kept hammering that home, you're under oath. Did I say zombies? Best of her recollection was yes, but she didn't know verbatim. So it seems like, yeah, Lori was really trying to hammer. Did I say this exactly? Or did you hear somebody else say it? Was I talking to somebody else? What sentence did I say with the word zombie in it?
Yes.
Right. She just kept kind of hammering that home, which, is what it is, I guess.
Right. Well, both sides have a point, because Lori wants to know, like, specifically, what is your specific memory? But then Serena's like, well, that was like 6 years ago. So how am I supposed to remember specifically?
Yeah.
And I think Trina speaks to that on redirect. Then Lori wants to get into the translated beings discussion. She says, do you know the 3 Nephites? And Serena's like, no. And we'll find out in a minute why she said no like that. Do you know John the Revelator? Yeah. Do you know that Elijah was translated? And was there an objection here? I didn't write down objection, but I'm kind of feeling like there was an objection here. Maybe there wasn't.
I think so, because I don't have an objection, but I've been accused of being out of the scope of LDS, and this is exactly in the scope. So
there was an objection. Yes, there was an objection for relevance.
Yeah.
And then she says that. She says what you just said. I've been accused of believing in things that are outside of normal Mormonism, and I'm trying to show that I'm not. And the judge says something along the lines of, well, because you are comparing yourselves to these individuals, which is an odd way to phrase it, you can go ahead. You can proceed, objection overruled. So she's allowed to press her on these. Finally, she realizes that she's not asking for the names of the three Nephites. She's just asking if she recognizes the story in the Book of Mormon about the three Nephites that were translated beings. And she admits that John the Revelator was a translated being, and Elijah in the Old Testament was a translated being. And that pretty much is what she was looking for. It's like, okay, thank you. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
She says, this is a funny back and forth though. She goes, is it uncommon for Christians to believe in translations? And Serena goes, I don't think I'm qualified to speak on behalf of all Christians everywhere.
Yeah. That was a good one. I have that one too.
Yeah. All right. So then she asked her, so the girls' weekend, we had like a 5-minute prayer, and then we did a whole bunch of other things that were fun, right? And she basically admitted, she's like, I don't know the exact length of the prayer, but yeah, we did other things that were fun.
Right.
Do you know do you still speak with Christina Atwood? Yes. Do you speak with Kay Woodcock? She says, I don't know who Kay Woodcock is. Do you speak with Nicole Earl? Yes, often. Are you related to Nicole Earl? No. Oh, okay. Well, I just wondered.
Yeah. I wondered. I wanted to know. That was it. That was when I was talking at the top of the show. That's the only time that she would ever have a chance to ask that question, right? And she found out because she's like, "Oh, I wondered. I wanted to know."
Okay. Well,
right?
Now you know.
Now you know. So what? Why would she say, "Are you related"? Did somebody?
Maybe she thinks that they got that somebody she knows got married. Pammy, thank you.
Oh, Pammy's doing a duel. Thank you, Pammy. Oh, she did. $4.99 to you and $4.99 to Trial TV Live. Awesome. Thank you, Pammy.
So sweet, Pammy. Thank you.
Yeah.
We
So
appreciate having Pammy.
Yeah.
We appreciate having Pammy in a sandwich.
Somebody must have married somebody because that's like some insider information.
Exactly. Like how did she know that Nancy Joe went to a pickleball tournament? Like how did she know that?
Yeah.
How did she know that she met Adam at a pickleball tournament?
Right. And there was an objection, and the judge said disregard that. Jury should disregard that.
Yes.
I think it was the ending. I think it was I wondered, I wanted to know. I think that's what they were supposed to disregard. Yeah.
Yeah. And Trina says objection. She's making comments after. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did I don't need to repent come out of my mouth? What was my exact sentence? Again, same question. What was the exact phrase and sentence? I don't remember. I can't recall. It was several years ago. So they kind of asked that back and forth. If you were uncomfortable with being there at the event, why didn't you just leave? You're a grown woman with your own ideas, right? And she basically says, well, because I have friends there and stuff, and I flew in from out of state, so it's difficult. And Lori says, well, you changed your mind about being uncomfortable, didn't you? And she's like, no, I didn't change my mind. She was interviewed by the police twice. Do you have something to add?
I do. I'm sorry. Yeah, because it was a good one. She said, do you remember it coming out of my mouth about needing to repent? She said, yes, it was in front of all of us. Lori asks, was I teaching a class? And she's like, no. Well, why would I be the one speaking? And she's like, sometimes we take turns when we're talking to each other. Something to that effect. I thought that was pretty good. It's like, because that's the way it works. It's a give and take. Why would I be the one speaking? Sometimes we take turns. So anyway, I thought that was kind of in a backhand or not underhanded, because I don't think Serena seemed like she was really sweet, right? I don't think she didn't have any devious in her bones, but I think she was just like, because that's the way speaking works.
That was a good one. That was definitely a good one.
Yeah. So law enforcement interviews, I think that's where we left off, right?
She was interviewed by the police twice. So Moffat came to her house once and interviewed her briefly. And then she went to Chandler PD and was interviewed for like an hour to an hour and a half. What did you tell them? What were they interested in knowing from you? Objection, hearsay. So she's trying to get her to testify to something that is not in evidence, which is deemed hearsay. The judge sustains it. And then she asks her famous question, did you see with your own eyes? Did you hear with your own ears? Did you witness me conspiring to murder my husband, Charles Vallow? And of course she said no.
Yeah. Yep. Mic drop moment again for Lori. She struts back. She's like,
Right.
Yep, I gotcha.
Right.
Since you didn't see it, you didn't hear it, you didn't see it, hear it, or personally witness it, then I'm not guilty. I can just see, you know, the little wheels going in their head.
Krista, shh.
What?
Nothing.
Oh.
Nothing to see her. Move along.
Oh, yeah. Right.
It's been a long 4 days. It feels like about 8 days.
I know. And we're only week 1 is in the books. Whoop, whoop.
Right. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way we're going 5 weeks. There is no way we're going 5 weeks.
You mean longer? You think longer?
No. Shorter. Way shorter. Yeah.
Well, we're
4
12.
weeks.
12
weeks at the
witnesses in. 4 weeks, yeah. 12 witnesses in. I'm shocked because yesterday we were talking about Kay, that they would bring her out later. Remember, we were talking about the ME, where you know, the whole sequence of stuff, and they brought Kay. I thought they'd bring Kay later, or I don't know. What do you think? You think? Oh, well, everybody knows Kay came out today, but what do you think?
Right. Well, when we were at lunch, we saw Trina take Kay to another side room and have a little conversation. So we suspected that she was going to come to testify today.
Okay.
But that was just because we were in the right place at the right time. Nothing, no insider knowledge, except we were in the right place at the right time.
Just right there. Capri Law says you should go hit up a D-backs game. Are you a baseball fan?
I am, yes. And the Atlanta Braves, are coming to Phoenix in early April. It's like April 7th, 8th, and 9th or something like that.
That's now. That's now.
Is it? What? No.
Today's the 10th.
No, you're lying to me.
Today's the 10th. Oh, no. Were you going to go?
Hold on.
You're a Braves fan?
Yes. Have been since 1987.
Ah. Not bad.
Let's see. Okay, they were with the Phillies today. Where's your schedule at, guys? Why is it so hard to find the schedule?
Vague and ambiguous says, great time to be there. Her BFF lives in Chandler.
Braves 2020. There we go. Full schedule and tickets. Oh, no, that's April. They're in Arizona, April 25, 26, 27.
All right. They'll still be going, right? Well,
I think so. Probably, yes.
Yeah.
And if they are, I will be there. For sure. Wait, poor Joe, what? Poor Joe about to be sad? No, I didn't miss it. I just messed up the schedule. I looked at the schedule wrong. It's the end of the month, not the beginning of the month.
That would have really sucked. You would have been like, oh, man, I just missed it. Capri thinks the Brewers are coming. I only know that your husband played for the Brewers. Okay. We knew that he played for a team. I don't know, Capri, I don't know if I knew that he played for Milwaukee. Braves and Diamondbacks fan, Red Sox, Braves. Grew up watching Braves, yep.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Oh, 19th birthday for Kasha's little baby boy. Cool.
Nice. Happy birthday.
You're right on. Yes, happy birthday. All right. Who is up next? Redirect, right? We have to do redirect or no? Did we do redirect?
Yes, redirect. There was only one question that was of note to me on redirect. Why didn't you leave? So that's what Lori asked her, if you were uncomfortable. And she said, Well, because I had friends there, I still wanted to spend time with my friends. So
Yeah. Yeah. And we've all been in situations, I think our chat was talking about it, of like, we've all been in situations where we feel uncomfortable, but we're not just going to go running out. We'll just, you're there. She's there. Right. I mean, she doesn't live there, right? She's not from the area. She can't just, leave. And she still has friends. So yeah, that was a good
right.
one.
And what is your level of discomfort? I mean, like if it's just them like spouting weird religious beliefs, like, hey, my husband is possessed and we need to cast out the spirit, then that doesn't feel like an immediate threat to you. If they start saying you have an evil spirit in you and we need to cast it out, okay, I'm out of there. I'm gone. I don't care how I got to get out of there. So
Yeah,
it's a threat. It's a threat level assessment, a discomfort level assessment.
exactly. Yep.
All right. Then we get into a very, very interesting one that's going to take us longer than I wanted to take on this.
Okay.
William McDonald is a digital forensic expert,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a lot of training and experience in especially something like Celebrite, but just digital forensics in general from computers and phones type of thing. And I think he said he started like back in like 2003.
26
What was that?
years. I have
Yeah.
26 years as
Holy
an
cow.
officer. Yeah, as an officer. I don't know if he's been doing it for that long though.
I think the forensic side of it was like 2003-ish,
Okay.
which was what, like Windows ME? Did we have Windows ME in 2003?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I've been
I
Mac.
don't even.
So yeah, I've been Mac
Oh,
since
okay.
since 92. No, since 89 or 90. I've been Mac.
Oh my gosh! Holy cow!
Yeah.
you'll never change now.
No,
Like,
I think that boat has sailed.
yeah, that would throw off your entire world.
I've worked on them. I mean, I've definitely have done work because the work I do, I can do on either machine. It doesn't matter, but I definitely prefer Apple and Macs.
Nice. So these are some detailed notes about his specific extractions that I thought were important to note.
Okay.
His extraction from the phone. So he copies all of the contents to the phone to something that he calls a container file.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an empty folder where everything that's on the phone gets dumped into this container file.
Mm-hmm.
Then he processes this container file, the contents of this container file, through Celebrite, and Celebrite kind of like makes sense for everybody. It like organizes it in a way that's meaningful, and it provides a report that is like a summary of the meaningful data that Celebrite has created through the processing of it. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. We heard this in the Zachary Hughes trial. We heard this exact same
Right.
thing. Not explained like that, but we saw it actually in process. It's like basically this data is just thrown out. It's just jumble, and then they had this expert come in, and he actually had to pull it together and make sense out of it. So this, to me, I was familiar with this.
Right. So Celebrite puts it together, and while this is going on, I look over to Lori.
Mm-hmm.
And Lori is like not paying any attention to this witness and any attention to this direct examination. She is in some type of a intense discussion with that with Abernathy. Abernathy is his name. He moves up from the back row. He's sitting next to her, and they're engaged in a really intense conversation. And she's not paying any attention at all to this direct. And I'm like, this direct is very, very relevant to the motion that she filed for discovery.
Yep.
Because what she claimed was that she just got the report. She did not get any other data. And the judge says, well, there's no other data. There's just the report. And that's not true, according to this expert. There is a container file that is full of raw data that has been brought over from the phone.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
They did not provide that in discovery to her. They only provided the report that Celebrite like created from that raw data. So she was right in her motion. She was 100% correct.
Yeah.
And the judge just blew it off because he has dismissed that motion
Mm-hmm.
without a hearing.
Yeah.
So this is very relevant testimony to me.
Yeah. I was so looking forward to the cross on one level, but the other level, I'm like, well, he was really technical, and I don't think she could, go toe to
Right.
toe with him. But I was
No.
also like, this is the crux of her argument for like the last 2 or 3 weeks or whatever.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And she's not paying attention to direct in his
Mhm.
answers at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So they talk about how you have to turn the phone on carefully and you have to put it in airplane mode so it doesn't receive data and it can't be manipulated. He received it on the 16th and started doing extraction on the 17th. Showed the photos of the phone in the package. Showed that it was in airplane mode. Talked about how there's older technology and newer technology, which is something
Mhm.
that the judge talked about as an
Mhm.
excuse to dismiss her motion.
I remember. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that she wasn't correct. And then they
Yeah.
talk about gray key working
Mhm.
in conjunction with Celebrite, and I'm not really sure how that interaction works between gray key and Celebrite, but I know they're like sister softwares.
Mhm.
So Celebrite processed the file, created the report, and McDonald only hands off that report. He doesn't actually analyze it or review it. He just
Right.
hands it off. He does the extraction, processes it through Celebrite, and then hands it off to the detectives to
Mhm.
do whatever they're going to do. But in that process, there was also another file that's called a reader file.
Mhm.
So there's another piece of evidence that's not just the quote unquote report created by
Mhm.
Celebrite that was
Mhm.
not created in discovery, according to Lori.
Yeah.
So there are a couple things in there that she still has an argument were not provided in discovery.
Yep. Yeah. I was I was I'm not sure what the word is right now. This was very revealing to me because this was what she's been arguing for at least pre-trial motions, right? Pre-trials. She was talking about this before the trial started here. The actual trial started, so she's been on this for at least 2 or 3 weeks. And adamant. I mean, she's been, in some of those pre-trial hearings, she's been really adamant about it. Oh,
Yeah, but
sorry, Drunky the Bear is
oh,
saying Joe looking quite dapper in the tie. Awesome.
oh, thank you.
Thank you, Drunky. Appreciate that. Yeah, this to me was one of those moments that it could have been the trial could have not hinged on it, but this could have been one of those moments of like if she had adequate counsel, they could have really hammered this guy.
Absolutely.
Why
Yeah,
isn't prosecution turning this over? This could have been one of those moments.
she doesn't know how to land a plane by herself.
Yeah.
She's not qualified for solo flights. She's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is one jury question. This cracked me up. Can you recover deleted browser history? Sometimes, but I'm going to add a little comment on that. Can you recover deleted browser history? Asking for a friend.
Well, to me, this just screamed somebody's been watching Karen Reed.
Yep, yep.
How long does it take to die in the cold? I mean, that, yeah. Funny.
All right, so the next witness is Marissa Francisco. She's the forensic scientist that bored the crap out of everybody in the courtroom today.
My notes are like 5 lines long.
Yep, mine too.
Though, there was some good stuff in here. If you want to just touch on that part.
Let's see. This is what I have. Latent prints are prints that are present, not visible. There is friction ridge detail in our fingers and in our feet and in a couple other places. blah, blah, blah,
Blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah.
general boring technical process and details. That's what I
Yeah.
have in my notes.
Is that it? That's really? What about the bat?
Oh,
The bat. The
oh
bat.
no, that's
Oh,
the next line after that
oh,
is
okay.
the baseball bat comes out.
Okay. Yeah, because that was like, what? There's the bat. There's the actual
Yeah.
the
No,
bat.
there's
Yeah.
like 15 minutes of technical process and details that
I know.
we're all
And
like planning what we're doing after the party.
God love her, she knew what
She's
she was talking about. I
super
know.
smart, super technical, super
Yep.
knowledgeable. Like she should teach a class on this, and she tried to today.
I know. I
And
know.
we,
But it's just the driest. It's just the driest of the dry, and it's just like
I think she might have gone overboard a little bit in the
Yeah.
level of technicality that she explained, and the
Agreed.
level of detail in her processes.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, the baseball bat comes out. We hear that she didn't test the grip.
Hmm.
It's got that like leathery type of surface to it that is not is not prone to getting prints off of.
Right.
So she couldn't see visible prints on the rest of the head of the bat, like above the leather grip part of it.
Hmm.
So she did well, which is funny to me because she described latent prints as being not visible.
Hmm.
So latent prints, by definition, you're not going to see visibly with the naked eye.
Right.
Anyway, so she did super glue fuming for the rest of the bat.
Hmm.
And if you've watched Forensic Files, you know all about super glue fuming.
Yeah.
So she said the results of that super glue fuming revealed 2 fingerprints
Hmm.
that she determined to be NVID, which are neither positive nor negative. In other words, not inclusive or exclusive.
Hmm.
But she was asked to compare Charles, Lori, and Alex in the beginning. And I'm a little confused because it seems like there were 2 different processes, and I don't know what those are, the 2 different evaluations of those prints. And I'm not sure exactly what those 2 different processes were, because the second process, she only compared those to Charles Vallow's known fingerprints.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It did get a little confusing because, it was inconclusive to Charles. And then she didn't compare Alex, and because she was only asked to compare Charles, and she wasn't asked to compare Lori and Tylee. So I can see that the state didn't want that because Lori's defense is that Tylee came out with the bat. So defense should have tested the bat to see if Tylee's prints were on that, because that would then prove her theory of Charles and Lori were arguing. Tylee came out with the bat, right? And Charles took the bat away from Tylee. So she wasn't asked to do any. She wasn't asked. She was only asked to see if Charles's fingerprints were on there, and it was inconclusive. So that to me that's
what I have in my notes. Exactly. The first, so she found 2 prints. She compared them independently. The first print was inconclusive, which means that he couldn't be included or excluded. The second print was also inconclusive for Charles.
Yeah.
Which means he can't be included or excluded. But she didn't compare Alex or Lori or Tylee to those prints. So 2 of 3 things. Number 1, did they ever take the fingerprints of Lori and Alex and Tylee? Did they ever fingerprint them? Why wouldn't they have at least asked them to volunteer their fingerprints, even if they didn't have a warrant for it? Why didn't they take their phones and ask to examine those, even if they didn't have a warrant for it? Did you not ask?
Right.
Same thing. But is this a case of the police fitting the evidence for their theory of what happened? That has to be asked.
Yeah.
It has to be.
I think again, a competent defense would have gotten their own expert, but how could they? Because I was going to say they would have gotten Lori's fingerprints. They would have tested the bat for Tylee's fingerprints, but Tylee's no longer around, so there's no way that they could do it. So yeah, so strike that. You can't get Tylee's fingerprints, so
Right.
there's no way to test for that. So
No.
throw that out the window.
Yep.
Yeah. So Cross, I thought, right? Do you want to?
Yeah. So on Cross, she said, so you took a DNA swab, and I missed that indirect. I missed the forensic expert, Marissa. I missed her saying that she took a DNA swab.
Swab the grip. She swabbed the grip first because of the texture and didn't expect to find prints there. I don't remember her saying anything about DNA, but you're right. She said DNA was collected, but
yeah. So
wasn't tested.
Right. What did you do with that DNA swab? I sent it to the lab. So what happened with that DNA swab that she sent to the lab? And is she the only intelligent person on Chandler PD that believes that DNA evidence is relevant to a homicide scene?
Right. Well, it was sent to the state lab because Chandler didn't have the capacity or whatever. They don't have the technology. Yeah.
Apparently, according to the testimony we've heard so far, she's the only one that collected DNA to be sent to whatever lab, whether it's Chandler or state or a private third-party lab. I mean, she's a super smart gal. I mean, I like this gal.
Yeah. Two people have said the same thing. Well, Pammy's the second one. Send it off for DNA. Testing results will come in later. Was that right? Somebody else said that too. I forget who now. I saw that earlier. But is that true that we're going to hear about it later?
I think we're later down the road now. We're in 2025. We should have heard about it by now.
I think that ship has sailed. That train has left the station.
Yeah.
That horse is out of the barn. How many sayings can I say?
How many colloquialisms? Oh man,
that's a tough one.
Colloquialisms. It's a 6-syllable word.
Yeah, especially for you being up for 12 hours or 15 hours or however long you've been up for.
Oh no, I was up at 12:30 this morning my time.
Oh,
so that's about 12 hours plus 7. Yeah, 19 hours now.
Yeah. All right, we got one more. We got one more, and then
we got one more.
And it's a big one. It's a big one, right? It's a big one.
It is.
Yeah.
Ms. Kay Woodcock, Charles Vallow's sister.
Yeah. Any reaction from the jury when she said her name?
No.
But
there was a reaction from the jury later.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Yeah. Wait. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I heard a yawn when either when she said her name or when Trina said the next witness. I thought I heard a like that, like a yawn. That's what I have in my notes. I heard a yawn, and it had to have been from Lori's side because she's the hot mic one. So
no, that wasn't me. That was me. It was a really big.
Right. There was another hot mic moment for Cross, but we'll get to that once we get to Cross. All right.
Yeah. So I watched. So I'm doing like quadruple duty. So I'm taking my notes in my notebook. I took really good notes today. I'm watching the jury. I'm tweeting, but I'm also looking at the left corner of my eye at Lori, and I could see her. She has to like stretch out her arm as far as it will go to touch that mute button. So I wonder from time to time if she doesn't miss that mute button when she's trying to like press it.
Right. Sinbad heard it too. It was a yawn. Yeah, it was audible. It was like kind of like that, like like, oh, here we go. Here comes Kay. Like when it was kind of like that. That's the way I interpreted it. Yeah, something like that. So.
All right, so
let's get to Kay.
She's 64 years old. She's Charles Vallow's little sister. So the siblings go 6 siblings, and I have 6 in my family too. It was Terry, Susan, Charles. Charles was number 3. Leroy, Kay is number 5, and then Bobby is the youngest. Charles and Kay were close. Did you go to Lori and Charles' wedding? No, they ran off to Vegas. They had kind of like a reception after the fact that everybody could go to. Did they have prior children? Yes, Charles had Cole and Zach. Lori had Colby and Tylee. In July of 2019, the only minor children they had were Tylee, and the only direct children they had, like blood children, Colby and Cole and Zach, were all adults and were all out of the house. So all of these things where Lori said she had 5 children that she was in charge of were basically bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm paraphrasing for Kay. JJ was adopted in July of 2014 when he was only 2 years old. That I didn't know before today.
Mm-hmm.
He was special needs. He was a preemie baby, and he was autistic. I knew that. In July of 2019, when this happened, JJ was 7. He and Charles would visit Kay and Larry in Louisiana often. JJ was autistic, so at first he had trouble flying, but he grew to love to fly, and so they would fly to Louisiana and visit them often. Charles played minor league baseball, and Kay says she grew up on the baseball fields watching him play and watching his brother play also, and he pitched and he batted left-handed.
Mm-hmm. Confirmation from
somebody who watched him for years and years and years
Yeah.
and years and years.
From Lil Sis. Yeah.
Yeah. So if Lori comes in with some kind of an affidavit from a high school coach or something that said that Charles batted right-handed, I'm going to be skeptical, number one. But number two, sometimes left-handed people are ambidextrous and they can bat from either side. And so maybe he did occasionally bat from the right side.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'd give my right arm to be ambidextrous. Old joke, dad joke.
Yeah.
When their mother passed away, when Charles and Kay's mother passed away, Lori did not attend the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Kay and Lori didn't talk much or text much because Kay is not much of a talker. She would rather text than talk, and she and Lori texted some, but not much. But when they got together, they got along great, you know, because she said Lori is such an outgoing person. She's such a, you know, she said, we got along really well and I loved her, basically is how she summarized it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a little surprised that, well, I mean, Kay is such a wonderful person, you know, and
she's genuine. She is who she is.
Yeah. Yeah. She did say, yeah, I loved her. Yeah.
In 2018, did you have a concern about the relationship? Yes, I saw some things that were troubling. 2019, I saw that the marriage was in trouble, and I was concerned for his safety.
Mm-hmm.
At one point in time, she got a text from Lori saying that her and Charles had a fight, and she was in a hotel. And then she got a call from Charles the next day, and so she flew out there to see if she could help.
Mm-hmm.
This was early February of 2019. So
I wonder if. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say in opening, Lori said there's video evidence of Charles and Tylee fighting, or Charles being physical with Tylee. I wonder if this is that moment. This is what the evidence is going to show. You know. I saw that yawn.
No.
So yeah, so she teased it. Lori teased that there was going to be video evidence of Charles getting physical with Tylee. So is this the moment, or is it something else? We don't know, but
yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Kay is amazing.
So she got the call from Charles. She flew out there in early February of 2019, and my point was, this is when all of that weird preparing the people stuff was going on, like the girls' weekend gathering and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did the two of those jive? Like, she's claiming to the people she's talking to that it's about her and Charles having an argument. She needs to leave Charles because she feels however she feels, but all the preparing the people and the girls' weekend stuff is going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in chat tell me when she and Chad Daybell met, like when was the preparing the people conference where Chad and Lori met and they started down that path?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm kind of interested how this timeline fits in there. So she flew out there. She didn't see Lori when she flew out there. And Lori disappeared, and nobody would tell Charles where Lori had disappeared to.
I have the answer. October 26, 2018, Lord and Chad met at a religious conference in St. George. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Krista, yeah. This is according to ABC4 Utah.
Wow. So this is October, November, December, January, February. This is like 4 months after that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're starting to see things like take shape, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So she flew out there in February of 2019. She didn't see Lori, and nobody would tell Charles where Lori was. So Lori disappeared in early 2019, like a few months after meeting Chad Daybell.
Mm-hmm.
And Kay said that Charles would tell her every single day how long Lori had disappeared without any contact at all. Didn't contact him, didn't contact the kids, just boom, gone, vanished. And at this point in time, in February of 2019, late February of 2019, it had been 56 or 58 days. I think we heard two different ones. Either way, it doesn't matter. She didn't have any contact with her children for 56 to 58 days.
Mm-hmm.
Just vanished.
Yep.
JJ was staying with Charles, and Tylee was staying at Alex's. So at the end of March, Charles is done. He's like, you know what? She's gone. I don't know where she is. I'm going to move to Houston because that's 2.5 hours from my sister, and my sister can help and come watch JJ while I'm out of town on my business trips.
Right.
And that was like an agreement between Kay and Charles. Kay was also working for her business that had to do with like the offshore oil things off the shore of Louisiana. But while they're packing up the house, Lori comes in. She just shows up from out of nowhere after 56 or 58 days, whatever it was. And she's like, what did you take, JJ? What are you doing this? She just starts yelling, and Charles starts crying. They go off and have a conversation in this room. Then they go off and have a further conversation in that room. And they end up kind of semi-reconciling. And Lori says, I love you, KK. And she says, I love you too. I'm sorry this is happening. They get a U-Haul, and Charles drives the U-Haul to Houston, and Kay drives his pickup truck to Houston. Oh, Sherry, my blood hasn't started boiling yet, but it's about to. It's about to.
Yep.
He says that he still wanted JJ to be a part of Lori's life, or vice versa, however you want to word that.
Right.
Then for another 2 weeks after that encounter, while they're moving out and moving to Houston, she disappeared for 2 weeks. She said, I've got some projects I've got to work on in Hawaii. I'll be back in 2 weeks. And she did come back to Houston in 2 weeks. But it was like a total of 72 days that she had just totally ghosted her children and her husband.
Yep.
So she moves to Houston, and she stays there. And I couldn't figure out the exact amount of time that she stayed in Houston with them, but it felt like a few weeks before she ended up moving back to Arizona. But when she moved back to Arizona, she took Tylee and JJ with her. JJ was no longer with Charles in Houston. And that's going to play a big part in this. That's going to play a huge part in this.
Yep.
Next, we talk about the life insurance policy. Did you know about it? Yes. We had like a minute and a half conversation. He said he was going to change me to the beneficiary. I never confirmed it one way or the other. When was the last time you saw Charles? It was probably in June of 2019. When was the last time you saw JJ? It was May 18th. I need to find out what's the significance of that day, because she pulled that out immediately. May 18th of 2019 was the last time she saw JJ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know she cared about that kid. You know she did.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know that Lori did? Do you know that Lori did? The last time that he texted with her was the day before he was killed. The last time Charles texted with his sister Kay was July 10th. She said she didn't know anything about the intervention, but she knew that Adam was his confidant and that he was in good hands with Adam being his confidant. Then we get into a really disturbing part. How did you learn about Charles' death?
Yeah.
I was at July 12th, so this is the day after. I was in a nail salon in Lake Charles, and Cole called me and said he got a text from Lori saying, your dad is dead.
Yeah.
So he called her. Well, he called Lori back first. He tried calling Lori back, and Lori would not answer the phone. He was trying to figure out what's going on.
Right.
So then Kay tried to call Lori, and Lori was too busy. But when Cole called, Kay called her husband Larry, and Larry said, hold on a second, let me check. So he Googled it too. So this is the second family member that has, or the second person that has Googled, has had to use Google to find out that Charles has been killed by Alex. And that's how they find out.
It's
just by Googling.
So nauseating. Just so nauseating.
Infuriating.
Yeah.
So when they found out from Google, she tried to reach Lori, and at some point in time, Lori finally either answered a phone call or answered a text, and she just said, I have so much going on right now that I just don't have time to talk to you.
If I may, after she found out that Larry, Googled it, she broke down. She said, I had to call my siblings and let them know. How did you guys react to that when Kay broke down on the stand?
It was rough.
Mm-hmm.
There were not a lot of dry eyes in the gallery.
Yeah.
And I think that there were a couple of jurors that reacted too. I mean, they tried to minimize it, but
yeah.
I mean, you can kind of tell when somebody's having an emotional reaction and they're trying to minimize it, like I am right now.
Yeah, I think you answered my question. Yeah. And here it is 7 years later, and yeah, it's tough. It's tough to find out that your brother got shot by his brother-in-law through Google. That's how you find out. It just sucks.
And then you have to call and tell all of your siblings, and that's when she broke down.
Yeah.
And she said, I remember I had to call them all and tell them. And
yeah.
Yeah.
How she doesn't want to just jump across that stand and just wring Lori's neck. I give her a lot of credit.
She's strong. She is strong.
Yeah. And she testified up in Idaho, so this is her second.
I've talked to a couple people that watched that testimony and this testimony, and they say she was so much better in this one. She was so much stronger and more calm and more sure of herself.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to a zinger in a second that was really awesome.
Okay.
So she said, we're going to come pick up Charles' body. So they flew to Chandler on Saturday. Charles' body was not there. And you know why his body wasn't there? Because Lori had his body cremated and FedExed to her business office.
Cold. When I saw that, and she said more stuff, but can you imagine getting a box? She probably didn't know what it was. It's like, what's this, right?
Well, it probably arrived at her business office while she was en route to Phoenix, en route to Chandler, to go pick up his remains. She's like, I'm going to go pick up his remains. We're going to have a funeral. We're going to, we're going to do all the things that we should do. And he's not there. His body's not there. Well, what happened to it? It got cremated and shipped off to Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Cole doesn't even describe that, doesn't even begin to describe that level of evil.
Yeah. Yep. And you didn't touch upon it, but I just want to go back that they were not LDS. So Charles was maybe Baptist. I'm not sure what they grew up with, and Kay didn't say it, but Trina specifically asked, was Charles LDS? And she said no, but he did convert at some point in the marriage.
Yes.
So correct. I'm only guessing Louisiana, Lutheran, Baptist. I'm just guessing that they were Baptist, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think Kresh has told me one time how she grew up, and I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. It was not LDS though, so.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah. So.
I don't think it was Catholic. It might have been Catholic, but whatever it was, she said, Mormons don't drink and we do.
No. Yeah. Catholics like their wine.
Yeah. So she flew to Chandler, and then they asked to meet with the detective from Chandler Police Department. So on Sunday, they met with Nate Moffett. While Lori is talking about this evil, horrible thing that Lori has done, Lori is sitting at her defense table, and she's just fiddling with folders. She's like picking up a folder, and she's like opening it up, and she's like rifling through the pages. She closes it. She moves it over. She picks up another one. She's studiously ignoring Kay's testimony. Mm-hmm. She's studiously ignoring it.
Yeah.
And I hope that she's feeling something. I mean, because we've seen all along her level of narcissism is like off the charts. And those narcissists always blame things on other people. But I'm really hoping that there's some level of something that touched like deep down inside there that gives her some level of remorse or guilt. Like it's a sign to me that she's fiddling with file folders in the middle of all of this. That I think maybe there is. Like maybe it's just uncomfortability that Kay is saying something that can't be refuted and that is damaging to her. Maybe that's it. But she eventually she has to feel something from this. She has to feel some amount of justice come land in her lap from this.
I would like to think that, but I'm going to go more with she probably staunchly believes that Charles abused Tylee and she had every right to do what she did. Look at how she is with the kids. She still doesn't think that she did anything wrong with the kids.
She may not be,
or what she did was proper. That's they're in a better place, or they're
was justified. Right?
Yeah, justified. You can't talk to people like that, or you can't rationalize with them.
So Lori has him cremated and couriered to Kay's office, and she gives Kay permission to go to the Houston house, and Kay shows up at the Houston house, and none of his personal belongings are there. None, his or JJ's. There's just like business folders, and there's large furniture. So he had a collection of watches, probably pretty expensive watches, that were gone.
He, at one point, she said his commission was $120,000. He got a commission for $100. He was, and I think I said he was rolling in fat stacks, to
right. Yeah.
To paraphrase Jesse.
That's a decent commission, right?
It's not a bad commission. Yeah, he was paying for people's cell phones and payment plans and buying houses. Well, renting houses. But I mean, he was probably making. They were buying $1 million life insurance policies, for crying out loud. I mean,
right.
He knew how to manage money. The guy knew how to manage money. So it doesn't surprise me, that he had some seriously nice, whatever you want to say, well, watches in this case. But Yeah, Kay said that with his remains, his Letterman jacket, cheap sunglasses, and a few watches, cheap trinkets.
Yeah.
Charles had a watch collection, and she sent crap. Literally, that's what she said.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
so then we get into the life insurance policy. Again, Lori texts her. So this is the first time that she texts her after she finds out that Kay was the new beneficiary of the life insurance policy. She texts her a screenshot of that beneficiary change form. And she says something like, I've got 5 kids and you wind up with $1 million life insurance policy.
Yep.
So she was pissed off. She was really pissed off.
Yep. Which, in fact, she didn't have the 5 kids, as we found out, because there were a lot of them were adults. It was JJ and Tylee were the only 2, right? Everybody,
Right.
or
Yeah.
Zach was
Colby. Colby and Cole and Zach were all adults, and they were all out of the house.
Yep.
Zach did live with them for a while, but he was out of the house at that point in 2019.
So she only had
they had just moved into the new house like 3 weeks before that in Chandler, and Zach was not living there in that house. He had lived with them in a previous house somewhere, but at that point in time, it's my understanding that Zach was not living with them or did not move with them to that house.
Yeah.
So that 5 kids thing. Then Kay asks if JJ can come to Charles' service, his memorial service in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And at first, Lori agrees to that. But then when Lori finds out that she's not the beneficiary of the policy, she says, no, JJ can't go. He's going with me to Hawaii. We're moving to Hawaii and we just have too much going on. That's going to be too confusing for him. So nope, he can't go to Charles' memorial service.
Yep.
Cross-examined by Lori. Where were you on July 11th, 2019, Lake Charles, Louisiana? What does that have to do with anything? You trying to say she was in Chandler, Arizona, and she shot her brother? What was your relationship with Tylee? It was a bit contentious. Or what was Charles's relationship with Tylee? And Kay is open here, and she says it was a bit contentious. They had their issues. And were you aware of the events that happened on July 11th, 2019? No, because you didn't tell me about the events that transpired on July 11th, 2019.
Yeah.
She
got that in. Yeah.
Yeah. But that question, like, the question, why would you ask her that when you already know the answer? And the answer isn't favorable to you at all.
Yep. Yep.
And did you personally see or hear or witness me conspire to murder my husband, Charles Vallow? No, of course not. But I saw a ton of evidence. Zing.
She got 2. She got 2 good ones there at the end.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. One thing that you guys didn't hear, perhaps we heard, was Lori, when it was crossed, we heard oh boy. We heard Lori say, oh boy. It had to be Lori.
Real.
It had to be Lori, because Trina was sitting. I don't think she was still standing up. So it had to be, we heard an oh boy. So.
Wow.
I'm thinking it was Lori. Yeah. Chat. Did you guys hear the oh boy? Back me up on that, if it was there or not. But yeah, I have oh boy ... Oh, that was Kay. Oh, okay, that was Kay that said oh boy. Okay. Everybody thought it was Kay. All right. Thank you for correcting me then. All right. Well, I heard an oh boy, so it came from Kay.
Oh goodness.
All right.
So then
Sorry, OnlyFans says, I think you have to always check if it was Joe Schmoe first.
Right.
All right.
I'm sneaking over there to whisper in Lori's microphone.
All right. Sorry.
All right. So then we have redirect. And basically it's generic redirect, or except for the part where Trina asks, so was it all bad times between Tylee and Charles? Kay says, no, I saw them have good times.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but there were like custodial issues between Lori and her ex-husband, and Tylee was caught in the middle of those.
Yeah.
And she says, quote unquote, Tylee had a lot going on in her life.
Yeah.
And Colby is sitting diagonal from me, one seat. And he knows what Tylee had going on in her life at that time.
Right.
He knows because he was there for a lot of it, and he had just moved out recently, and he shook his head in agreement. Tylee had a lot going on in her life, and that wasn't all Charles's fault. Did they have a contentious relationship? Was she a 16-year-old teenager? Yes, but she had a lot going on in her life, and Colby nodded in agreement to that assessment.
Right.
And that's all I got.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the one thing was, did you have any idea Charles was dead? She's like, no, how would I? So again,
Right.
She's just like, no, nobody told us. Nobody told us. Nobody told the family,
Yeah.
No jury questions, and then no trial tomorrow. Early starts on Monday and Tuesday. So, and that was it.
Yep. Maybe that'll mean early ends too. Maybe.
Probably not.
Yeah, well, probably not.
Probably not. Wishful thinking. Do you want to take some questions? You have enough gas left in for a few questions?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see. You can pull them up. I can just look at them. You can pull them up.
Let's go. We got a super chat. Came a YouTube member, Alice Howell. Got some of these.
Zarchasm. Jags Girl. Stephanie. Awesome. Wendy. So glad Wendy's back in the fold.
Wendy, welcome back.
Oh, therapist, thank you. I totally missed that. Thank you so much for that.
Therapist,
Aaron wants me to ask, when are you going to have memberships?
I have to iron out a detail with customer support. So what happened was, back when I became eligible for memberships, I had a copyright strike from Hidden True Crime. And eventually that copyright strike went away, but there was some kind of a toggle switch on the YouTube computer that said that I wasn't eligible because I had a copyright strike. So I have to go in with customer service, and I have to get that reversed like manually.
Okay.
They got to go bump that toggle switch for me.
Okay. All right. Beach Bum.
Thank
nice.
you.
Yeah, thank you. You guys are great. We love our chat.
We have a great community. I wonder that too. Some of them paid really close attention to a lot of things. They paid really close attention to the possessions and the castings and the zombies. That probably is a reflection of our society and our culture, but did they notice? We don't know.
Well, Kay said the last time that I saw JJ was May 18th. So if you're a juror, you're like, well, wait a minute. Everybody loves this kid. We know he's on the spectrum. Where is he now?
Yep.
Right. And then I looked up, and his birthday was the 25th of May. So maybe people were saying maybe they were going to have a birthday party for him or something.
Right. That would make sense. They had a lot of big family gatherings, kind of somewhere around a special event like that. Yeah. But yeah, you would have to wonder, because his adopted mother is in prison. His adoptive father is in jail. Kay said the last time she saw him was like 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. So where is he?
And it came out that Lori didn't want him, right? She disappeared for 70, was it 72, 76, however, 70 some odd days. So it's like, where is this kid? What's up? And then where's Tylee? We're hearing all about Tylee too. Where's she? I mean, I guess now you could say, well, she's grown, but where's the 7-year-old? Now 7 years, he'd be 14 or so. Where's he? What's his deal?
Yeah. Yeah, he would be going to Boy Scout programs. He would. So this part made me so mad. I'm gonna hide that for just a second. She said that he couldn't go to Charles's memorial service because she was moving to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
She took JJ and Tylee to Hawaii for a brief period of time before she went to Rexburg and participated in their murders.
Mm-hmm.
All she had to do was let JJ go back to Kay and Larry.
Yep.
They loved him. They wanted him.
Yep.
If she didn't want him, all she had to do was let him go back. And that upsets me like you can't believe. Like,
yeah.
I was so pissed at her today. Pissed at her today.
It upsets the world. That's why she's like probably one of the most hated, disliked individuals right now, you know, because she threw them away. And Tylee, I mean, it's just, I hate to say it like this. It's one thing to kill somebody. It's another thing to just do what they did. It's just, I just can't wrap my head around the way we treat each other sometimes.
No, I don't think there's an answer. I really don't.
Yeah. So Mama 3, wait, let me see that question. Could the jury start to wonder? Could the jury start to wonder about where Tylee and JJ are now? Could they ask with a jury question if the door is open? They may have already. Yeah, they may have already asked. We don't know. Who knows? Maybe somebody said, "So what's up with JJ?" They may have already. We don't know, because that's why they confer. Well, they don't come up right now. They sit at their desks with the headphones on.
Right.
So they confer. Both parties have to agree. The question comes in, I guess, right?
Yes.
So.
Or if one party disagrees, like if Lori were to disagree about that jury or question, the judge can rule on it right there and say, you know what, you may disagree, but we're going to ask it anyway.
Yep.
All right. It was tough slogging. Today was tough slogging. We got through it though.
Yeah. Well, you got a 3-day break. You gonna do anything fun? See some baseball or go play pickleball?
Probably not baseball, but I am going to go get some sunshine and chill a little bit. And on either tomorrow or Saturday, I'm going to go live with Kresha. We're going to do our next, we're going to do part 5 of our series on the Glenn Pace memo about ritualistic abuse in the Mormon Church.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Yeah, it is. It's disturbing. It's like almost as disturbing. Well, it probably is as disturbing as this case because it's very, very similar, very related. But on Sunday afternoon, I am doing a live interview of juror number 18 from Lori's Idaho case.
Awesome.
Tom Evans is an amazing guy. He's down here in Phoenix to watch this trial. We've talked a lot. He sat next to me during jury selection. We hit it off really well. But he is also writing a book. He wrote a book immediately after Lori's trial. And then he just released a second book like a week, maybe a week and a half ago. We'll talk about those books, but we'll also talk about his perceptions of this trial and how they compare to his experiences in the Idaho trial.
What time on Sunday? You said Sunday afternoon. Do you have a time yet? Or
yes, that's going to be 5 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, fantastic. We'll definitely watch that. Chad, I'll hold you to that. I'll remind you guys tomorrow too. We'll promote that for you and put that on X and we'll repost it.
Yep, absolutely.
We'll talk about it tomorrow on our streams. And Chad, I'll hold you to it. If I don't see you in that stream, I'm going to give you what for on Monday.
Yeah, Sinbad. Look at this. Tom Evans. Hold on.
Oh,
I saw him talk about his book with Nate. Guess what? He's going to be talking about his book with me.
There you go.
Nate's got nothing on me.
Right on. Yeah, no, that sounds really cool. Definitely the Sunday one. I'll try to catch the other one as well, because I like I said, I think yesterday I think it was the third episode I watched. So it's really interesting because I get in just to the well, we had Rachel B on, and we were just talking about, we were doing a pre-trial deep dive with Lori, and delusions versus religious people using religion as a shield to do bad things, essentially, and what's the difference between a delusion that's actually delusional, or saying like what Lori's saying, and she's hiding behind or using religion to do something that's that's a bad thing. So I am fascinated to hear more about that with you and Krishna. I want to definitely check that out. So good stuff. You got some good stuff coming up.
Yeah. A couple of good lives this weekend.
Cool.
So we'll keep a lookout for it. You want me to duck out, or you want to say goodbye to your community?
Yeah, no, it's all good. I think that's fine. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Joe, for co-hosting with us. Thus ends week 1 of Arizona versus Lori Daybell. Thank you, mods. Thank you, Joe. And chat, make sure you comment in both of ours. Pick one, do both if you're feeling generous. Just say hi, just say thanks. That helps with the algorithms. That helps grow our channel. Me personally, I'm trying to get Joe up to 2,000. I think you're at about 1,100 now or something subs.
I think I'm up to 1,200 now.
1,200. All right, let's get Joe up to 2,000. Let's see if we can get you up to 2,000. I think that's a goal that's within that's achievable. So let's see if we can get Joe up to 2,000. Obviously not tonight, but let's see if we can get you up to 2,000 at some point during this trial. So send this out to your friends, family, coworkers. Let everybody know, because I think what Joe's doing is really great work, and I'm really happy that we've made this connection, and I'm looking forward to next week with you.
Absolutely. Likewise. Let's go get some sleep and some rest. And everybody, thank you, chat. Thank you for all the super chats and all the kind words and all the participation. So we'll catch you next week on more of these, but also catch us over the weekend on whatever we have going on over the weekend.
Absolutely.
We got stuff going on, right?
Absolutely. All right, Joe. Have a good night, man.
All right, you too.
Okay.
Take care, everybody.
All right.
Good evening. Come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of Joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. Good evening. Come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of Joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. If we put in the time. Yeah. Good evening. Come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of Joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime.